so many Republicans right now who are blindly following Donald Trump out of loyalty will find a primary challenge in the next few years that aren't stained by the crimes, the misdemeanors, by the dirty deals that help Vladimir Putin and the Russians, these defenses. They know that time is coming, but right now the main thing they want to do is just avoid answering questions about Ambassador Taylor's testimony. Take a look.
Any reaction to Bill Taylor's testimony yesterday?
Haven't looked at it yet.
Well, I am almost late for my own hearing.
I haven't read it yet.
But the opening
I have to read
statement,
it.
the Bill
I have to
Taylor
get in the committee.
testimony.
I'm sorry, I haven't gotten in the committee yet.
Any reaction to Bill Taylor's testimony yesterday? I don't.
Oh, no. Well,
I am just
I
so
wouldn't
busy.
if you were a shill for...
Got to get to my hearing.
You saw your job as being a shill for Donald Trump. Bill Taylor's testimony would be the last thing that you'd want to speak to. It was devastating, and its impact still reverberating around the Capitol and the world today.
Bill Taylor told this as a story. It was his own investigation. What's going on here? He arrives in Kiev, and he realizes that apart from the normal diplomacy that he's conducting, there's this other irregular channel. And he begins through the summer to try to understand, what is this? So you go through his testimony, and page by page, he discovers more and more that this is essentially run out of the White House for the personal benefit of the president. He begins telling people, this is crazy. This is our ally. They're fighting a war against Russia. He goes to the front and looks at the Ukrainians who are depending on our military aid. He writes to Secretary of State Pompeo, his boss, and says, this is folly. What are you doing? And by the end of that testimony, you solve the mystery. You see what this is. This is President Trump going after his own personal, petty political interests. And you see the moral dimensions. This is betraying an ally who was counting on U.S. military aid.
By the way, an ally at its weakest state, with Vladimir Putin invading the country,
gobbled up a part of it, Joe.
Gobbled up part of it.
People still dying.
And people still dying. And of course, the threat of a further push westward, they selected the weakest country they could select to try to find somebody to dig up dirt on Joe Biden.
Yeah, what Taylor describes, and reading his opening statement is, as David said, it's like reading a story. It's like reading a novel unfold. You know, what he discovered was what John Bolton reportedly called a drug deal. You know, this illicit transaction that the White House was trying to impose on Ukraine. It's a shocking thing, and you see all this flailing by the House Republicans to react without actually addressing the substance, because they're getting no direction from the White House. The White House has, nothing to offer. It's only the president's Twitter feed, and which is insane. So what are they left with?
Well, I mean, the Twitter feed is so erratic. The president has moved far past ever being able to sketch out any plan. He's beyond a day trader now. He's got mental eruptions himself, spasms of lucidity, but nothing that the conference can follow, because his ability to do that is degenerating. What I find interesting here, because sitting in Washington, is we were up in Maine a couple of months ago, and we got a call from somebody who's worked in Central and Eastern Europe a lot, knew your dad very well, and said, hey, you need to look into this. Trump is holding up military aid to the Ukrainians until they investigate Joe Biden. Now, that word was around. An AP reporter had asked a question over a month ago, that specific question. What is fascinating is that in a month's time, we now have the evidence to back up what everybody feared was the worst case scenario. And it has happened. And I must say, Mika, shocking still that some Republicans will still not step up to the camera and say this is a disgrace, and it really endangers one of America's most important allies in Central and Eastern Europe, and it sends a terrible message across the globe, and will damage damage our standing with allies for some time to come.
That's where I think, the crux of the issue will be for years to come. Mike Barnicle, I mean, at this point, America is not an ally that can be counted on. We're not a good ally.
No, and we've changed our role in leaving Syria. Everyone saw the videos of the American troopers and their vehicles, convoys being pelted by people with potatoes and everything like that. But what you were just talking about is, I think, the most lethal thing yet that has happened to this administration and to this presidency. Because what happened with Bill Taylor's testimony, as both Gene and David alluded to, it is indeed a story. It's a story well told. It's a story well told by a man who took notes, and Gene is absolutely right. The statement reads like the first chapter of a novel or a treatment for a movie. It has everything that the public can understand. It has good guys and bad guys. It has heroes and villains. And it has an ending that you can guess at, but you kind of know where the ending is going. And it's easily understandable. And the problem for the Republicans is that whenever they step up to defend the president or do absolutely goofy stunts the way they did yesterday following Matt Gaetz off the cliff down into the basement of the Capitol, basically trying to interrupt grand jury proceedings. That's basically what they were trying to do, something they would never do in ordinary life. When they do this, they fail to remember, or maybe they do remember and they're too stupid to think about it. It's inevitable that the president will do something or say something, or something will be revealed within the next hour, the next day, that will completely throw them back again.
Yeah, and as General Mike Hayden said about that stunt, not only did they make fools of themselves, they probably broke quite a few laws in doing it. So still ahead on Morning Joe, hey, think about that, guys. A tell of two polls in the Democrats' race for president.
Yeah, Joe Biden had the lead, according to new numbers yesterday, but a new poll just this morning shows Elizabeth Warren out front. We'll break that down just ahead.
Thanks for checking out MSNBC on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. And you can click on any of the videos around us to watch more from Morning Joe and MSNBC. Thanks so much for watching.